Have you ever watched your child paralyzed by fear, unable to live a normal childhood, while you desperately search for help? What if I told you that it wasn't the $200 per hour child psychologist or the renowned anxiety specialist who helped one terrified 7-year-old boy, but a brave security guard who understood something they didn't? I've researched hundreds of cases involving childhood anxiety disorders, and this story reveals something profound about courage and maternal strength. By the end of this story, you'll understand why sometimes the bravest people are found in the most unexpected places, and how real courage isn't about eliminating fear. It's about having someone show you how to be strong. Marcus Richardson went from a boy who couldn't leave his mansion without panic attacks to a child who stood up to bullies at school, proving that courage is taught best by someone who's faced their own fears and won. If you skip this story, you'll miss the moment that shows why authentic maternal strength matters more than expensive therapy sessions. William Richardson stood at his mansion's floor-to-ceiling windows, watching his 7-year-old son Marcus through the security monitors. The boy sat motionless in the corner of the estate's playground, wearing his favorite blue Superman shirt, but looking anything but heroic. Marcus hadn't moved from that spot for 2 hours. As CEO of Richardson Technologies, William had built a tech empire worth $2.8 billion. He could solve complex business problems with a phone call, negotiate million-dollar deals over lunch, and command respect from world leaders. But he couldn't help his own son overcome crippling anxiety that had consumed their lives for the past 2 years. Marcus hadn't been the same since witnessing his mother's fatal car accident. The vibrant, laughing child who once filled their home with joy had disappeared, replaced by a frightened boy who couldn't sleep alone, rarely spoke above a whisper, and hadn't left the estate grounds in 6 months, except for mandatory medical appointments. How many of us have felt that desperate moment when expensive help isn't working and time is running out? The failed treatments haunted William's memory like ghosts of broken promises. Dr. Sarah Chen, a $300 per hour child psychologist from Harvard Medical, had insisted that exposure therapy would gradually desensitize Marcus to his triggers. Instead, forcing the boy to confront his fears had triggered such severe panic attacks that Marcus stopped eating for 3 days. Dr. Michael Torres, the city's premier anxiety specialist, prescribed a cocktail of medications that turned Marcus into a zombie-like shell of himself. The side effects were so severe, constant nausea, night terrors, and complete emotional numbness, that William threw the pills away after 2 weeks. The Willow Creek Center, an exclusive $50,000 residential treatment program for traumatized children, seemed promising until Marcus went completely mute for 3 weeks. He wouldn't even look at the staff members, spending entire days curled up in a corner, rocking back and forth. Dr. Amanda Foster, a renowned play therapist who charged $250 per session, lasted exactly 4 visits before Marcus destroyed her office during a panic attack, throwing toys and screaming that he wanted his mother. $500,000 spent, 0 progress. Marcus was getting worse. The crisis reached its peak when Marcus's exclusive private school, Thornfield Academy, called with an ultimatum. "Mr. Richardson," the headmaster said solemnly, "Marcus cannot begin 2nd grade if he cannot function in basic social settings. You have 30 days to demonstrate significant improvement, or we'll have to recommend he find alternative educational arrangements." The words hit William like a physical blow. Thornfield wasn't just any school, it was where he'd met Marcus's mother, where 3 generations of Richardsons had been educated. Losing that spot meant admitting that his son might never live a normal life. That evening, William sat in his study, surrounded by rejected treatment plans and bills from failed specialists. He buried his face in his hands, feeling more powerless than he'd ever felt in his life. All his money, all his connections, all his success meant nothing when it came to helping Marcus heal. A soft knock interrupted his despair. Joyce Washington, the head of his security detail, stood in the doorway. At 48, Joyce carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who'd seen combat and survived loss. Her 20 years as a Marine had taught her to read people, to spot danger, and to protect what mattered most. "Mr. Richardson," Joyce said quietly. I hope you don't mind me asking, but how is Marcus doing? William looked up, surprised by the genuine concern in her voice. Joyce had been part of their security team for 3 years, but they'd rarely spoken beyond professional matters. Not well, he admitted. I don't know what else to try. Joyce stepped into the room, her expression thoughtful. Sir, I've been watching that boy for months. I've seen him at his worst moments, and I've noticed something the doctors might have missed. What's that? He watches me, Joyce said simply. During my security rounds, when he's outside, he follows my movements. When I'm visible, he seems calmer. When my shift ends and the night team takes over, he gets more agitated. William frowned. What are you suggesting? Joyce took a breath before responding. Mr. Richardson, with respect, that boy doesn't need more doctors. He needs to see what real strength looks like, and sometimes children need a mother's touch to feel safe again. The suggestion hung in the air between them. William's first instinct was to dismiss it. What could a security guard know about childhood psychology? But then he remembered the mountain of failed treatments, the wasted money, and Marcus's continued suffering. You've raised kids through difficult times, William said slowly. What do you think Marcus needs? Joyce's expression softened. Mr. Richardson, I didn't cure my children's pain after their father died in Afghanistan. I just showed them that brave people feel scared too. They just choose to love and protect others anyway, like any good mama would. The next morning, Joyce approached her security duties differently. Instead of her usual efficient perimeter checks, she deliberately walked past the playground area where Marcus typically sat. She didn't try to interact. She simply allowed him to see her, to observe her calm, confident presence. Marcus noticed immediately. From his usual corner, he watched as Joyce checked the estate's gates with methodical precision. There was something different about her, not the rushed efficiency of the other security staff, but a steady, unshakable composure that seemed to create a bubble of safety wherever she went. By the second day, Marcus had moved closer to the playground's edge, better positioning himself to watch Joyce's morning rounds. She began humming softly as she worked, not the clinical silence of the therapists, but gentle melodies she'd once sung to her own children during difficult nights. On the third day, Joyce noticed a small toy soldier left on the garden path where she always walked. She picked it up carefully, examining the tiny figure with respect. That's a fine soldier, she said, knowing Marcus was listening from behind a nearby tree. Reminds me of the brave men and women I served with. A small voice whispered from the foliage. Were you scared? Joyce's heart nearly broke at the vulnerability in that tiny question. She turned toward the tree, but didn't approach. Every day, sweetheart. But being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means feeling afraid and choosing to protect what matters anyway. Marcus emerged slowly from behind the tree, clutching another toy soldier. The doctors say I shouldn't be scared. Well, Joyce said gently, those doctors never had to be brave in the real world. Fear keeps us alive, baby. It tells us to pay attention, to be careful. The trick is not letting it make all our decisions. Over the following week, their conversations grew longer. Joyce shared stories from her military service, not the traumatic parts, but moments when ordinary people chose to be extraordinary. She told Marcus about the young Marine who carried wounded comrades to safety, despite his own fear, about the medic who sang lullabies to injured soldiers, about the commander who drew strength from protecting his unit, like a parent protects their children. My mama always told me, Joyce said one afternoon, as they walked the garden paths together, that courage isn't something you have, it's something you do. Marcus began wearing his Superman shirt every day during their walks. Do you think Superman gets scared? He asked. Oh, honey, if Superman was real, he'd be terrified half the time. Joyce laughed. Think about it. He's responsible for protecting everyone. That's a scary job. But he does it anyway because he loves people. Like you protect our house. Exactly like that. We're the guardians of this home, and guardians take care of their family. Joyce's approach was revolutionary in its simplicity. While the expensive specialist had focused on eliminating Marcus's fear, she taught him to work with it. She showed him basic security protocols, checking locks using a flashlight, understanding escape routes not to frighten him, but to give him tools for feeling safer. "Knowledge is power, little man," she explained as Marcus practiced using a walkie-talkie. "When you understand how things work, they're not scary anymore." Comment below if you've ever seen how children find courage through a strong mother figure's love. William watched this transformation from his office windows, initially skeptical, but increasingly amazed. Marcus was talking more, sleeping better, and for the first time in months, he'd voluntarily left the immediate house area to walk the property perimeter with Joyce. The breakthrough came during their evening security check. Marcus, now wearing a toy soldier costume that Joyce had found for him, asked, "Joyce, how did you teach your children to be brave when their daddy was gone?" Joyce stopped walking and knelt to Marcus's eye level. "My babies learned courage by watching me face my own fears. After their daddy died, I had to show them that it's okay to be scared, but we don't let fear stop us from taking care of the people we love." "Were you scared of being alone?" "Terrified," Joyce admitted. "But you know what I learned? The people who love us never really leave. They live on in the brave choices we make every day." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I miss my mama." "I know you do, sweetheart. That's not something you need to get over. That's love, and love is the most powerful force in the universe." "Is that why you take care of us? Because you love us?" Joyce's eyes filled with tears. "That's exactly why, baby." By the 4th week, Marcus's progress was undeniable. He'd started asking Joyce about her military service, her children, her life before working for his family. He learned that she'd raised 2 kids as a single mother, that she'd struggled financially, that she'd faced discrimination as a black woman in a male-dominated field, and that she'd never let any of it break her spirit. "Strength isn't about not having problems," Joyce explained. "It's about facing your problems with love in your heart." Marcus began incorporating Joyce's lessons into his daily life. When thunderstorms scared him, he'd practice the breathing techniques she'd taught him. When nightmares woke him up, he'd use his flashlight to check his room like a security guard, then remind himself that he was safe. "You're not trying to stop being scared," Joyce had told him. "You're learning to be brave with your fear." The transformation wasn't just in Marcus. William noticed changes in himself too. Watching Joyce's patient, loving approach made him realize he'd been trying to fix his son instead of simply being present with him. Fear had made William as much a prisoner as Marcus, just in different ways. Mr. Richardson, Joyce said one evening, "Children don't need perfect parents. They need present ones. Your boy doesn't need you to take away his pain. He needs you to show him how to carry it with dignity." With only 5 days left before the school deadline, panic set in. William scheduled a practice run to Thornfield Academy, hoping to demonstrate Marcus's progress. But the moment they reached the estate gates, Marcus had his worst panic attack in months, hyperventilating, shaking, and begging to go back to the house. The expensive specialists William had on retainer all recommended the same thing: delay school for another year. "Marcus simply isn't ready," Dr. Chen insisted during an emergency video consultation. "Pushing him now could cause permanent psychological damage." That night, William sat in his study, defeat weighing heavily on his shoulders. 3 years of private education payments down the drain. More importantly, his son's future hanging in the balance. Joyce knocked on the door. "Mr. Richardson, I have a request." "What is it?" "Let me take Marcus to school, not as security, but as his courage coach. Sometimes a child needs a mama's strength to feel safe enough to be brave." William's immediate reaction was resistance. "Joyce, you're not qualified. You don't have degrees in child psychology." "No, sir," Joyce replied firmly. "But I've got something those doctors don't. I've been a scared mama who had to find courage for her babies, and I know how to help a child feel safe enough to be strong." William studied her face, the quiet confidence, the maternal determination, the unwavering strength that had helped Marcus more in 1 month than all the specialists had in 2 years. "What exactly are you proposing?" "Give me tomorrow morning. Let me show Marcus that he can be brave in the real world, not just on our safe property." After a sleepless night, William agreed. Joyce arrived the next morning wearing civilian clothes instead of her security uniform. She carried a small gift box which she presented to Marcus at breakfast. This kept me strong through the hardest times raising my babies, she said, as Marcus opened the box. Inside was Joyce's Marine Corps pin, a small but meaningful symbol of her own journey through fear to courage. Now it's yours, little warrior. Marcus clutched the pin like a talisman. What if I get scared at school? Then you'll be scared and brave at the same time, Joyce said. That's what real heroes do. The car ride to Thornfield Academy was tense but manageable. Joyce shared stories of her first day adjusting to civilian life after military service. I was so scared of being around people who hadn't seen what I'd seen. I almost re-enlisted just to stay in my comfort zone. But you didn't. No, baby. You know what I learned? Courage isn't something you have, it's something you choose to be. At the school, Marcus faced 3 challenges. First, he had to spend 30 minutes in a classroom without Joyce. As she prepared to wait outside, Marcus gripped her Marine Corps pin. Pin. I'll be right outside, sweetheart. You've got that pin, and you've got everything I taught you about being brave. Marcus entered the classroom, his whole body shaking, but his feet moving forward. The second test came when children noticed his Marine Corps pin. One girl said, "My mama's in the Army. Is that real?" Marcus, speaking quietly but clearly, replied, "My friend Joyce gave it to me. She's a real Marine and the bravest mama I know." The third and most challenging test came unexpectedly when a planned fire drill alarm went off. While other children panicked at the loud noise, Marcus remembered Joyce's emergency protocols. Instead of freezing, he helped calm a younger child who was crying. "It's okay." Marcus said, his voice steady despite his own fear. "My friend Joyce taught me that brave people help others feel safe." This moment shows why authentic maternal love and strength matter more than expensive therapy sessions. Through the one-way observation window, William watched his son demonstrate quiet leadership. The boy who couldn't leave his property 6 months ago was now comforting another child during a crisis situation. The school administrator was impressed. Marcus showed remarkable leadership during the emergency drill. He comforted another child and followed safety procedures perfectly. What therapy approach achieved this transformation? William looked at Joyce, then back at the administrator. A security guard who understood that courage is taught through a mother's love and example, not textbooks. The administrator paused, clearly expecting a different answer. "Well, whatever method you used, it worked. Marcus is more than ready for our program." As they drove home, Marcus was unusually chatty, describing every detail of his successful school visit. "Joyce, did you see how I helped that scared girl? I used your breathing technique." "I saw, baby. You were amazing." "I was scared the whole time," Marcus admitted, "but I did it anyway." Joyce smiled. "Now you understand what courage really means." 3 months later, Marcus Richardson was thriving in 2nd grade at Thornfield Academy. The transformation was remarkable. He'd been elected to represent his class on the school safety committee, had made 3 close friends, and was sleeping peacefully through the night in his own room. He still wore Joyce's Marine Corps pin every day. During a recent playground incident, when a larger boy was bullying a smaller child, Marcus stepped in with words that would have made Joyce proud. "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing, even when you are scared." The real victory came during a family dinner when Marcus asked, "Dad, can we invite Joyce to eat with us? I want to tell her about how I helped a scared kid today, just like she helped me." William's perspective had fundamentally changed. He promoted Joyce to head of family security with a significant salary increase and established a mentorship program pairing military veterans with anxious children. The Richardson Foundation now funds similar programs across the country. "I spent 2 years trying to eliminate Marcus's fear," William reflected, "instead of teaching him to be brave with it." Joyce's response remained characteristically humble. Mr. Richardson, I didn't cure your son's anxiety. I just showed him that brave people feel scared too. They just don't let it stop them from protecting what matters." Marcus had developed his own motto, which he shared with other children. "Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's feeling afraid and choosing to be brave anyway, just like the strongest mamas do." The program's success led to 12 other families requesting Joyce's mentorship approach. The local veterans organization adopted the Richardson model, and Marcus started a Brave Hearts Club, at school for children dealing with anxiety. In the final scene that still brings tears to William's eyes, he overheard Marcus teaching a younger child, "You know what my friend Joyce taught me? Real heroes are just people who choose to love and protect others like the bravest mamas do." If Marcus Richardson's story touched your heart, and you'd like to hear more inspiring stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Every week I share stories about how maternal love and strength can change everything. Which moment resonated with you most when Marcus first spoke to Joyce? When he helped the scared child during the fire drill? Or when he started mentoring others? Share in the comments below. Sometimes the courage we need isn't found in textbooks or therapy sessions. It's found in the heart of someone who's been scared too, and chose to be brave anyway, like the strongest mothers do.